Okay, I think we are live, you guys. Anyone who's joining in here, I'm getting off mute. Okay, hold on. I think we are live. All right, now I have muted my video. Sorry about that. Thank you to everyone who came to watch our show. We are super excited about it. I know it's Saturday night and not everyone is around at home right now, but I hope whoever watched that you really enjoyed it. We had a ton of fun with this one, which hopefully you can tell based on our videos and kind of just the interaction and all of the kind of extra things that we did with this one. At least that's how I feel about it. But I see a few of you here. Oh, that must be Christian, and then Tracy is on. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Christian. Thank you guys for watching. Awesome. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. We are just looking for any questions or comments that you guys have or want to discuss about it. We are eager to talk about monsters and and really just discuss kind of our process from this show too. So I'm going to start off while everyone is kind of joining in here. Now that we are finished with this and that it's still fresh. The late nights from staying up working on all of this stuff is fresh too. How are you guys feeling about it? I guess how is this compared to shows that we've done in the past for any of you that have done it? And Tom, how was it for you for your first time?
I thought it was great. I mean, I love the whole collaborative nature of it. Just the support from the whole group was awesome. I mean, I look forward to like our touch points every single week.
Oh, that's awesome. So fun to hear. That's for everyone who's listening. We have kind of weekly artist chats every week, and it's just kind of as support for like-minded people and people who are kind of interested in the same things and trying to kind of work on our creativity and also just have this sort of community. And yeah, I really look forward to that too. So I'm always happy to hear that. Anyone else have any, I guess, insights or thoughts from this show specifically that has been different for you?
I can share. So it's been a year since I've done a show. I kind of got into like a creative funk where I kind of was stuck and couldn't do anything. And I feel like this show was still similar because they're still virtual and we're not able to see each other. But I like this one because we were still collaborating in a way. You know, we still have the weekly meetings, but like we were able to like take pieces of other people's work and kind of combine it. And I kind of felt like because of that, we were all like connected to each other a little bit more because I had other people's pieces and I knew that other people had mine. And I don't know, I thought it was refreshing.
Awesome.
I think this was like my favorite one to do because of like how we did it.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing a lot of different things and kind of upping the interaction and doing it. The theme was more fun, I think, too, than our previous one was a little more serious. So this was definitely a contrast to that. But it was a ton of fun. I agree with you guys.
I personally procrastinated a lot. So I think that was tougher about this one for me because I think the collaboration aspect made me want to like make something like so incredible because I was like, these are such awesome artists. You guys are all so talented. And I was like, I have to do something that does this justice. And I just like didn't have the time because I crunched myself. I had to move in the middle of this one. So I had like a month where I was like packing and a lot of vacations and it was just a mess timing wise for me. But I loved like, I agree with Tom. Like I really look forward to our weekly meetings especially for this one, I think, because of the collaboration aspect, because I feel like it was so fun to see like what everyone was doing and how they were going based off of like our inspiration pieces, because we all had like kind of a little bit of an idea of like the basis for everyone's projects, which made it like even more fun, I think, to watch the process, which was so fun.
Totally agree. I could all of you see a little bit of your piece in the final ones from the people who got yours? Cool. Yeah, me too. I thought it was really interesting. Like Lisa's style is so different from mine. Different in a, I think in a visual way, but also in terms of like emotionally, it feels the same to me, but it looks different to me. So I love that take on it, because I feel like she makes something that looks so different, but I feel like I connect to it so well. I always feel that about her pieces, but especially like knowing that she referenced mine and kind of was inspired by it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. So one of my steps for the show is to like completely let myself overthink everything, right? And so a lot of it was like looking at you and Meg's characters and like kind of getting, you know, kind of overthinking them, and then realizing the personalities are very much what I mostly try to like pay an homage to. Like Meg's is, you know, very fun spirited. Okay, that's a Saturday for me. That's a Saturday morning. You know, and Renee's is like friendly but focused and positive. You know, so it's like, okay, I have like what I can sort of make as a Monday to me, right? And then I got mine, which is pessimistic and fighting all the time. So it's easy to just kind of overthink it, connect it as much as possible. But I was thinking a lot about you guys, how I know you in this group and your personalities and stuff. So that was fun to analyze everything. So
I love that. I had a similar experience. I don't know, Mag, you look like you want to say something.
I was like, I mean, I put it in the video, like I hardcore was overthinking like Pascal's amazing drawing and, you know, incorporating Peyton's and the personalities into it with my main thing. And I really just was reaching and could not get it. And then I was like, just dial it back. Like, what was your original intent, you know, like, and how do you just add them to it, you know? And I really had to just take a step back because I was getting crazy with it. I'm like, nothing's working. So felt the same way.
Totally feel that. I feel like I always go so deep into it too in the beginning that I kind of freak myself out a little bit. And then, but I feel like for me, that's when I know that I'm getting to a good spot, because I'm about to let go of whatever it is that's holding me back from it and then go forward with what I'm learning from it. And if that makes sense. I want to continue that, but we're getting a couple questions, so I just don't want to ignore people over here who came to be with us right now. Rebecca, I see your question. Thank you. And Christian too. Thank you. I don't, it's not that I don't like doing digital. I think it's just because I'm on the computer all day, it's challenging for me to stay on the computer also on my projects at home, which is why I kind of try to get to resin and painting and leatherwork. But I hear you there, and thank you. Rebecca asked, how does having to incorporate other artists' ideas into your own work affect your creative process? Oh, that's pretty much what we were just talking about.
Oh, I do have an answer for that too. For this one, I think my final piece doesn't reflect much visually of the other characters, but that's why talking with Christian, we said it would be great to have a backstory for the character. So the whole idea of Sweet Cheeks is that whenever he eats these monsters, he like grabs his qualities, and that's why I did him in like a reddish pinkish color, because he ate the watermelon lady from Peyton. And then on the other picture that I had, it was Pascal's arm with his gun and everything. So it was a little bit different because it wasn't really incorporated into the character, into the final piece, but the whole story about this monster, I still wanted to have like a back end or something with all the characters, and that's why Sweet Cheeks is like that color, you know. Because originally I wanted him to be purple, but then thinking, how can I reflect also Peyton's character? Well, Peyton's character, it's a watermelon lady, so watermelons are green and red. So, and he just ate Peyton's monster, so.
Hey, that's not an invalid way to incorporate them. It's monsters after all.
It's a more creative way to
Yes.
to doing it, you know, just doing the story behind the character.
Yeah, I absolutely love the storytelling. That's something I've tried to incorporate into as much of my art as possible, because I've always noticed that's kind of a missing component, just to be able to look at a character and like figure out stuff about them just from the visual cues. Awesome.
Yeah, I loved that so much about yours. I mean, I was dying looking at it the first time. So funny.
I like the two halves of the video too. The beginning is like, yeah, and then it gets really serious.
And
That's good.
and Jimena always does like a digital version of her characters too. I feel like she thinks of them in terms of like she'll have a plushie for them, and she'll have like sometimes, I don't know if you ever do both plushie and a sculpted figure, but I always see a digital version too, to kind of like animate or somehow add in there, which I like. I like that you're always thinking of the character, and that was kind of perfect for this challenge, of course.
Yeah, definitely. And the idea is exactly that. Like your character can live in different mediums. It doesn't have to stay in just one, and you can bring it to life in so many different ways. And that is one of the things that I like about Chii. There's no restrictions, so you can do whatever you want. And I feel like most of the people here have experimented in different mediums and stuff that usually you don't work with, or you've never done it, or you're interested in. And the other thing that I like is that we all do different things.
Yes. Yeah, it brings like a nice kind of variety in our conversations about it too, I think. Because I want to learn how you all do what you do. This is my mom asking, when are you guys making a story using these creatures? She always asks me that about mine. Anyone else? Have you guys ever considered that? Like making a legit, I don't know, comic or kids book? Anything in the story realm?
My little mouse actually started as a story years ago.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I can see that. Sounds like you, Meg.
It was, yeah.
Tom, I feel like Bill Murray needs the Bill Murray combo. They need a little cartoon. I would watch that so soon.
I would make a Flash game if that were still a thing.
We have another question. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, but Mike is asking, does everyone's monster have a name? And if so, how did you come up with it? And I had names on mine, so I will let the rest of you guys answer if anyone named them and maybe didn't actually put it out there.
I named mine. Mine's name is Marvin. And I it was like a struggle at the beginning. Like I knew that I wanted to name him, and anytime I make like characters or creatures, the name doesn't come to me until I make the eyes. I don't know why. It just has to like look back at my soul to speak to me about its name. It's kind of weird. But Marvin is also rhyming, plays off the idea of marbles since he's a marble monster. So Marvin the Marble Monster, it had to be all M's. So it just sort of rolled off the tongue. So Marvin, his name formed.
I like that, the human name for the monster.
I had just posted my my monster on my Instagram, and in the caption I said, "Help me come up with a name for my monster because I don't know what his name would be." So if anyone has suggestions,
I think he should be named after a gum brand, but I don't have a gum brand in mind yet. But I literally, when I was looking at him, I was like, that my story I came up for him in my brain with is you step on him on accident and then he yells at you in like a funny little Danny DeVito voice or something because he's like and he's mad that he looks like gum and gets stepped on.
Can I recommend Chewy?
Hey, that's good. That's good.
That is good.
or like Bubba. Bubba.
I was
Oh,
gonna
that's
say
cute.
Bubba. I was like,
I
Bubba
like that.
seems like the name.
Any other suggestions? I could do a poll and we can vote.
Just throw out names. I'll have to think about that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can beat Bubba.
For mine, Sweet Cheeks. I mean, come on. He's a monster, but he had to be. I mean, he eats other monsters for breakfast and for lunch. So it's a monster, but it had to have like a super cute name, but also something strong. So it was like Emperor or something like that. And then we ended up naming him Sweet Cheeks the Mighty Conqueror because it's a very strong name, but also a very cute one.
I also love the idea of like him going up to another monster that he's about to eat and being like, "Hey, Sweet Cheeks," and then just eating them. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Poor watermelon lady.
Peyton, your monster got eaten. Oh, I think someone's asking you a question, Meg. Oh, no, just saying hello. I'm going to start putting them up here so you guys can read them too. Thank you, Jim.
My good friend Jim in Florida.
And he
With
says Bubba's a great name.
He has a fabulous bird. Yes, Bubba is a good name. Thanks, Jim.
I have a question for Tom. Tom, did you make the whole video? Is that your background music?
Yes.
Or was just the rest?
The first two like instrumental bits were things that I already had recorded.
Yeah.
And then the third one was clearly inspired by Billy and Murray.
That's awesome. Awesome. Really great.
Well, thank you so much.
Are you going to drop a link to the song?
I didn't put it up on Spotify yet because I don't want to mess up my algorithm, but I will shamelessly plug the link for my other music on Spotify in the chat.
Yeah.
Tom, your video, I loved it to see your process because at first I'm like, oh man, the sketch, fantastic. Oh, he's gonna paint it in. That's great. Oh, wait now. Now we're going to 3D modeling. Okay, I can get on board with this. See this 3D model. I'm like, oh man, ZBrush, I gotta learn this. Okay, now wait a sec. Now we're gonna print it. Now we're gonna print this 3D model, and just your whole process, seeing it from just a little sketch all the way to now this transformative, moving little action figure. So cool.
Well, the video was full of lies because I had always planned on 3D printing this guy. Because I'm a toy guy. I'm gonna make a toy, but
Too good.
But
too
I
good.
like to put that little bit of subterfuge in.
Yeah, you're like just teasing the whole entire time.
Maybe.
Maybe this, maybe that.
But
Well, and
seriously,
if they go to your Instagram page, they can also see like the little packaging that you created
yes.
for the
Oh, yeah,
little
they did make the
guy.
video because I
So-
made it after the video was done. But yeah, I did do a little bit of packaging play. Mostly just an excuse to play around with rendering better.
I need to shadow you for a day, Tom.
I know. I was gonna say that. Yeah, that's how you put it in your video. But I feel like you probably think that way all the time.
Yeah, I can't.
Maybe I could do this. Just add on to it.
I need to be like your little Bill. So like literally just sitting on your shoulder.
It's just laying on my shoulder still. It's okay.
You just have a little nap. It's
nice
not a
and
Bill,
warm.
it's a nap.
This is actually the start of my super villain arc, and I'm gonna make a magic machine so I can hack into your brain. Because I can't believe all of the creative brain power it takes to literally make all of the things that you made. Also the comedy of the video too. I was just like blown away. Like every single piece was just so clever. It was so good.
I gotta shield insecurity with something.
I mean, it was amazing.
Oh my
Thank you.
god. How do I chat?
Oh, are you trying to? I don't know if you can see it in here. Mike.
Meg, do you know that you're off mute?
Oh, did I burp too? Because I probably did.
No.
I'm like, how do I chat? Why?
You can go, how do I chat?
I think you have to do it in a separate window, just on the YouTube instead of on StreamYard.
Well, going back to the questions, I do have a question now for Renee. So you created a bunch of characters. There were like what, about 9 or 10 of them, right? So are you going to be creating your cards with them? Your
I had
Pokemon
not.
cards?
I had not thought of that. I like making characters a lot. That's probably my favorite thing to do. Which it's not something I get to do for work at all, really. So I just enjoy it and kind of go crazy with it when I do get to do it. So I don't know. I could make lots of them, but I hadn't thought about cards. Maybe you guys both mentioned it. That might be a good idea. I still want to do them in like acrylic. I was gonna die cut them and have like these layered pieces. That was my whole idea, and that's kind of why I ended up going with the 3D kind of layered look to kind of show that intention. But I don't know. The digital still looked good too.
It
You need
kind
to
of
fire up
shows that it
laser
was
on some
built.
acrylic.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looked like it.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it was the best I could do with the time that I had left when I realized I was kidding myself about trying to get all of that constructed by this time.
Yeah, but it kind of shows, like Tom was saying, when you're moving the characters, you can see the layers, and because they also have some sort of transparency, you can see it as if it were made out of the acrylic. So now that you have the characters, now you're gonna have to make time to create those characters with acrylic. It would be cool. It would be even better if you could like hang them or something, and you can recreate that 3D effect that you had in real life.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of what they are supposed to look like, kind of movable, and that makes me
So many
excited.
product
I like the
ideas.
hands-on stuff a lot. What'd you say, Tom?
I said so many product ideas.
Yes, my
We'll-
favorite thing.
We'll mind merge here.
Okay, I like it.
I think your many monsters, Renee, also would be really good as either a Neopet series or as Tamagotchis. Like I want every single one, because I feel like they like it would be cool to see them in different stages of growth. You know, like you get a little baby one, and then they get bigger, and we feed them and stuff. So
Actually, speaking of that, because I I do always feel like Jimena, like I have to kind of think of a story behind them, and not I have to, but it just naturally happens. Like when you're creating something, like you want to know why it is the way it is. Otherwise, it's like hard to think of things that make sense for it. Do any of the rest of you do that when you're kind of creating either characters or anything that really has like some sort of personality? Do you think, I think Megan, you probably do. Think of a story behind things. Because just hearing you talk about names and kind of how you would name things because of a story that you had in your head. Is that something that you're on mute, by the way? Is that something you thought about while you were making your leg monsters?
Yeah, I think that the naming is the easiest part for some reason for me, which is kind of weird, but like I feel like the personality I don't necessarily think of in advance. It's just something that I figure out once I'm there, you know, and then the name comes very naturally to me. And also I think I'm just good at naming other people's stuff. But mine, I named I named Leggy, like Peggy, but with an L. And I think it's always like, it always is some sort of pun that has to do with, or like play on words that has to do with like a definitive part of their personality or like visual cues. So that's why I thought of the gum thing for Peyton's because I just couldn't stop thinking I wanted to chew it. I guess I do that, but it's kind of like a second step and not the first step for me, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, no, it does.
I was a fan of Blobby.
Oh my God, I forgot about those. Wait, I did give those all names. Yeah, and those was that was the same thing. It was the name is the last thing to happen. I also liked Straw because it was like strawberry, but I thought that she'd be a little hip, so she doesn't get. Oh yeah, what did I name Molly? That one doesn't make
Molly's
sense.
my favorite. She's my phone background.
That one I just thought would be funny if she had like such a normal name because she looks like out of this world. And then Blobby came just because she's Blobby. And then Straw because she's like a hip version of a strawberry. So she would like have some weird name, you know how like really hip people have like cool names. But I like naming stuff. I think that if you get a cat, you should name it after a food. Because cats named after food are the best. Like, how cute would a cat named Bagel be? And now I'm going to go on mute.
I have a question for everyone, and it's related to names, but also, do you guys think that you put a little bit of your own personality into your pieces?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think when I'm making something, it's always about layering. And for me, I feel like that's always about how I feel about things. I feel like there are so many layers to get to like what something actually is. And I am always kind of like behind the fog, like trying to figure things out. But that's kind of how I see life, I guess, and how I see different things. And I find it really interesting that way. So all of my characters and my monsters had that. And also kind of just of course they had to be cute because I like cute things. They couldn't be scary monsters.
For me, as now this is my 4th Chii for All show, I have finally started finding out more of my artistic voice and more of just pure Natalie. So I would say my monster definitely has some of me, and I would say my choice of what am I trying to say? My impact for my art, I think, is always just like playful fun, whether that is just like brings you a smile, brings you a laugh, brings you some sarcasm, brings you some puns, because I love my good puns. But so my marble monster, I mean, I made a monster out of wire that throws up marbles. Like, if that doesn't tell you how my mind like works, it's just like trying to pull like random concepts or like different ideas and mashing these together and coming up with a solution in a way that doesn't necessarily have like a first initial impact, but comes up with something totally off the wall and weird that you just want to keep trying and experimenting with. So I think my projects as a whole is becoming more and more Natalie, which I'm excited to see for more future shows.
That's super exciting.
I love that, Natalie.
I definitely put a little bit of myself in my monster because I only work out my right arm and I pinch everything.
Yeah, those are the things, definitely.
There's a question over there, right?
There is. I just put it up. I didn't want to cut anyone off from answering if anyone else had anything for Jimena. But we got this question. How did you all come up with the theme? So fun. I mean, this definitely came from someone who's on here, who wasn't on here before. Yeah, Tom. Tom had sent me something, and it was more like it was a toy challenge that some people were doing, and they kind of like cut them up and each of them had to make their own different character out of it, from what I remember. But I did think it was a really interesting concept to do something a little bit more specific, and like kind of thinking of a character. And that always seems interesting to me anyway, because that's what I love doing. And I didn't know if all of you would enjoy that. This was one of the ones where we voted like we have done in the past, and most everyone voted for that one. And I didn't know if people would like it. I was a little bit like, I don't know if will Meg like making a monster? Would Peyton like making monsters? I don't know. But I was pleasantly surprised that everyone got so into it and it was so fun for everyone. So it was perfect.
I love all the ideas you come up with from your selections. Like, they're all good. I'm always excited about that initial part. Like, what are you going to come up with?
I
Thank
agree.
you.
I'm excited for the next one. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Oh, it's happening. I think we already kind of have an idea.
It's gonna happen.
Yes.
I think one of the most interesting things about coming up with these themes is that they're also different. And I think we're all inclined more towards one thing or another. So with so many themes, when we end up voting for the ones that personally you like the most, right? So for this one, I thought I was going to be honestly the only one voting for monsters. Well, maybe Lisa too, but other than that,
And me. I definitely.
well, yeah, you too, but like, I thought it was like
Vampires.
because I love monsters, but I thought it was a little bit. I don't want to say creepy, but when you talk to people and you say monsters, people are usually like, "Ooh, monsters! No, monsters are ugly and terrifying," and they're like, "No, we don't want to see monsters." But seeing some monsters, I mean, some monsters can be super cute or interesting, or like it can be anything. But that's one of the things that I like, that sometimes you have themes that might not be appealing for everyone, and we ended up voting, and it's like, oh my god, I guess it was appealing for everybody then,
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally thought there would be some people who might do like something more object-based or like a place or something that has personality, because I kind of put that out there. I was like, well, you could do really anything that has personality as a character, right? But everybody went straight for the characters pretty boldly, which was fun to see. Like even Meg, I was like, you're totally gonna do some sort of cat monster. It wasn't even a cat monster. Definitely what I was expecting. But actually nobody ever does what I expect in these shows either, so.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it is interesting that we all went the character routes. And now I'm thinking like, I just watched Sing 2 with Meg, and I thought it was very funny how like all the different animals lived in a world together. Similar, I guess, to Monsters, Inc. But like, what if all of our characters like lived in a realm together somewhere?
Ooh.
And I wonder if they would interact like well together based
Oh.
on the personalities that we made them.
Jimenez
then
eats
no,
everybody.
I know.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, but my monster would eat
But like
all
yours
of
could
your
be like the criminal that's like, you know, like running away from everyone and like occasionally will like snatch someone up. But like you could be like your monster could be behind bars. I don't know. Like in this monster world. Someone could write it.
Yes. Tracy says she loves that idea. And Tom can write the theme song. That's perfect. I love it. Sherry is asking Tom, can you do a live stream on Instagram next time? That could be cool.
Yeah, I
Actually,
got to figure out how.
I was gonna say the only issue with doing a live Instagram is that you cannot have more than 4 people at the same time.
yeah.
So with us
Yeah.
being so many, that's why we do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, we could always consider anything really, but I do really like the aspect of having everyone be able to kind of have this conversation together. And I honestly, we really look forward to this. I know I've talked to others of you, so I'm just speaking for you too. Like, we really look forward to this part of it because this is kind of like the celebration afterwards when you're really just talking about it and like reflecting on how all of it went and getting ideas kind of in the back of your head for what you could do next time. And we actually did get that question too. Sherry asked, what would you do different next time? That is something that I feel like I'm thinking always at this point. When we just finished, I'm like, what can I do next? And I'm always kind of more experimental with whatever I do, like in the following weeks from this, even if we don't have like a new show specifically planned out yet.
Well, you said the next show is going to be a flash mob, right?
Totally. Now everyone will have to guess if that's really what we're doing. They just won't know. We did get another question from Sherry. How long did this whole process take you? Anyone want to take a stab at that?
I can say something about it. So if you're talking about hours, I would say it took me about 48 hours in total, but obviously you're not working straight those 42 or 48 hours. So it was about 3 months, I would say, like 48 hours in 2-3 months, something like that. And what I like about our videos too is that sometimes when people see the final piece, some people might say, oh, it's just a painting. How long could it have taken that person to do, you know? Like 2 hours? No, you have no idea how much time people invest in their artwork. And not only the time, it's the passion, and you have to take time from other places in your life to put into this show, because some people might not sleep because they want to do this, or because it's a little bit more important at the time, or you won't go out with friends because of COVID first, and then because you have a piece that you want to finish, right? So I don't know if everyone can say exactly how many hours you put into one piece, but I have to say that it's over a long period of time, over months or weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
I would agree. Going off of Jimena, I would also say, like, yeah, maybe you can track the amount of time that you spent, like, sitting down and, you know, painting something or, like, illustrating something. But there's also, like, the time spent, like, throughout your day-to-day where, like, the thought of something pops up into your brain and then you're, like, pondering about it and then thinking about it. And then, like, sometimes wasting time thinking too much about it. And that time adds up a lot as well. So you can never really keep track.
Yeah, it's that like ideation part where you're like trying and failing and trying to get your really idea to a concrete place before you even start that final step, you know?
Yeah.
I would have no idea. And to Jimena's point too, like we have pretty demanding jobs. I mean, a little bit. So finding the time is it's hard.
100% agree with everybody. And I know Peyton, in your video, you joked about like procrastinating, which I felt that way too, but I completely think from the start of the initial theme is when you like everything everybody's saying, like you kind of have it in your mind about what you want to do, even though you're not there yet. I feel like that's completely part of the process. Even the ups and downs of feeling horrible about now thinking about it, but you are actually thinking about it. I think that's part of all of it. So actually, the physical, actually getting it done versus the ideation, like you're saying, and just delving into it is part of it, I think.
And
My
I think
video
the
was
other,
actually in real time, so 5 minutes and 16 seconds. I'm
man,
very
I wish
fast.
I could still.
Maybe a little longer.
I think the other component too of time is like, I don't know about you guys, but like I dream about my projects. So the amount of sleep that I've also lost to this project, I don't even know. Does that count?
Oh, totally. I mean, everyone like processes your creative process is different, but I do feel like once you have something in your mind, it's going to be taking up energy, right? Which is not a bad thing. I mean, at least I feel like that's where probably it was built for the most part, and then it just all came out at the end for a lot of us. Oh, that's not a question. Joe says more zombie from Meg next time.
Yes.
We debated taking that out, but it was too funny. Couldn't do it.
I have a question for Lisa. So, oils, yay or nay?
Yay, definitely. Thanks, Natalie, for giving me all the suggestions and stuff. It was fun. I understand completely why people use a different studio, though, because it's so stinky and poisonous and pretty messy. Like, but I'm definitely want to do more. I think I got to set it up how I intended to set it up before, which is just in a separate station. But definitely, I love it, actually. Super fun. Thanks, Natalie.
I knew you would like it. I know anybody who tries it will love it.
I mean, just watching her video, I was just like, okay, this is not going to be the last time Lisa does oils. There's going to be more of this happening.
I like the idea of staining the color onto something, and oils is exactly that. It just stains everything. So definitely, has everybody done oils? Sarah's is oil, right?
Oh, isn't hers acrylic?
I thought hers was acrylic.
I think so. Yeah.
But going into your comments about painting and fumes and smelly things, do you guys have a special space reserved for your painting or illustration or whatever you guys are doing? Is it a place in your home that it's only yours, or is it a place that you have to share, or you don't have a specific space because you do so many things that you jump from one room to another one and then to the next one?
So my 3D printer is extremely stinky. So I've had to move that out to the garage after having it in my office for a little while, too long. But I haven't grown any extra eyes yet, so I'm very thankful.
Yeah, it is very difficult to actually make space. I don't think like I have this room is kind of where I do most of my like hands-on work, but it's like it doesn't really separate. If something is smelly, like if I'm doing resin, it's really hard to keep it from getting out into the rest of the space anyway. I don't even know how you would have to have like a separate studio or something to make that work. I do worry about my bunny sometimes.
Chii Studios, when are we going to set it up?
Exactly. We need that. Hit me down.
I do everything mainly on my computer. So in my video, I showed me sitting on my new favorite couch that I bought when I moved. And I sit, it's like an L couch, and I sit in that corner of the L, and I just like shove myself and kind of sit crisscross and slowly getting arthritis, and I just keep going. That's like a sacred spot. I'm always somewhere like surrounded by blankets and pillows.
Yeah, mine was my bed for this one. Because I never let myself work like in my bed, except for if I'm like sick. Like when I get my second vaccine, I let myself work from bed that day because I was dead. But like normally I never do that. So for this show, I was like, you know what? Like this is fun art. So you can do it in your bed and that's okay. Or on my patio, because I moved and now I have a patio. So I can go outside. And that's amazing. So I was like drawing and doing all that masking, sitting on the patio one night, and it was very fun. A nice break.
That is a good point, though. I feel like a lot of times just getting away from your normal like working space, especially right now, it's like it's really hard to work in the same spot, which is why I had trouble doing like mostly digital for mine. But it is what it is. You can't really, I don't have another place to use the computer really where I can like, I guess because I use a big tablet, I don't have like one of the, like an iPad or anything like that.
So keeping up with this theme, what would be your dream studio for each one? I know that Tom would make something with music, so he would have different rooms probably for his stinky like 3D printing stuff, and then another part for his music because it has to be soundproof, and then some other like workstation for your computer or something. I don't know. I'm just going of the things that I see that you
got me
have,
pegged.
Tom. Oh, okay. Perfect.
Dead on.
It's exactly what I want to. Everything Tom wants, I want. No.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would need to be a separate space that's pretty large and has really good ventilation. Mostly that. Ventilation's a big thing.
Amanda, do you only work on the one room with all the stuff you work on? Like you work on a lot of different stuff too. Yeah.
Yes, sometimes I move around depending on what I'm working on. Sometimes because I use a lot of fabrics and they take up a lot of space, and they also have a lot of lint or fluffies. I try not to do it near the computer because of that. But it all depends. My dream studio would have different tables for different things. Like one would be just like a workstation for computers, and another one would be another workstation where I can splash things and stain things, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. And I would need something that it's like stinky proof or very well ventilated, because sometimes you're using stuff that it's very stinky and it's not good for anyone to be smelling that. Or what I found, it's if I'm cutting styrofoam with a hot tool, it's super, super bad. And when I do those kinds of things, I try to put a mask on because it's really bad. Even if I'm sanding something, I try to put a mask on because, well, all the little dust goes into your lungs and everything. And even if I'm spray painting something, I try to use a mask, even if it's not one of those 3M masks, even if it's just like a fabric mask or whatever. I think it's better. But I would have a giant room with different spaces for everything. And the only thing that I would say is that no matter what you do, you have to have a good chair. That's
important.
basic.
I think my dream studio would be the art department that I went to college at. It kind of had, yeah, Meg was there too. Like, I think the reason why I stick to the computer is because I don't have those spaces anymore to do those hands-on things. Like, I have, the cutting mat and I have a tabletop to put it on, but it's just kind of different. You can put yourself in those different, like, rooms or stations to kind of, like, get your mind into place. Having, like, a spray mount and, like, a dark room, I think I would experiment more if I still had access to those kind of things. So I would say that if you could take the UD art department and like put it in my building and then allow me access to it.
Yeah, I'm like a combination kind of. So like I would say also from college, just having the photo room, the painting room, the VizCon room, like having just, like Jimena said, separate spaces for all of my different crafts. So whether that's me doing my wire art, doing digital, doing sculpture, doing painting, like having all the different tables. But then I would want a space with like big doors that would go outside onto preferably a balcony because I love doing work outside. I get inspired a lot by nature. And then I would want more of my favorite things. So like right now I have a studio space and like I need to use it more than I do, but not all of my like inspiration is up yet. So I don't use it as much because I don't get inspired in this room. So I would have all kinds of artwork up. I would have murals painted. I would have a Dr. Pepper machine, a Dippin' Dot machine, a hot pretzel station. I would have zones. So then I would literally never leave the space because I would have everything I would need.
So relate to that.
Now I'm hungry. See you all later. No.
We did have one question come in. Joe is asking, were there many ideas thrown out before landing on the ones to submit to the group for the mashup? I think you're asking about the monsters, ideas for the monsters, maybe? I think, so our process for that anyway was just, we all met and some of us did some sketching beforehand and some of us just did it on that day, but we just each sketched like 3 different monsters and it could be whatever, just our own style and own type of character, which is why you saw a bunch of different things like Straw the strawberry and the watermelon. I want those because I wouldn't think of doing those. But we basically just did our own style of monsters and then kind of swapped around so that we had a little bit of inspiration from a couple different people. So it wasn't like something that we decided on specifically ahead of time. It was just kind of taking from our own influence and just using that to kind of be inspiration to others, which I think really was the coolest part about this one. Just getting to have that sort of mind interaction, I guess. We're influencing each other in different ways. Does anyone else have a favorite part about this one that kind of, I guess, helped you get a little more creative with it? Because I feel like everyone was very creative with it.
Are you asking like another element from someone else's piece?
Anything, like what was it that stood out to you or that was different and really made it special for you?
I think because we were picking things from other people's pieces, it took like my drawing and it pushed it forward into something completely new, and something that I normally wouldn't have thought of or would have created. And with that, my favorite piece that matched up with mine was Tom's. It was like this fluffy, long-legged, like light bulb eyes creature. And that's where I got like the fluffy texture of my monster. I took it from Tom's, and like I would have never thought of doing that. And I think it just like pushed my monster into a different personality, into Bubba, or whatever we named him.
Yeah, I loved having guardrails. I mean, it sounds weird as a creative person, but like that focus helps you like actually move forward, I find. It's like, because otherwise you could stay in the clouds daydreaming forever of like, oh, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. So if you get those concrete things you could latch onto, it can move it forward, and then you can, you know, develop from there. But I love that part of it, just like to have those inspirations to pull from.
Totally. I think that from work, that's where I always feel like guardrails are good at work. And then when we do this, there are times when I feel like it is helpful for us to have that sort of guidance so that we're not all over the place, because on some projects we kind of are. Which I don't know if that's good or not.
I was going to say, I personally, like, as a young creative person and someone who like has mostly done creative work for school or work, I like really need that problem solving element of like the guardrail. Like, I not necessarily need, obviously there's things that I can make on my own, but I think that like the guardrails do definitely like push my creativity further and give me like a starting point and something to like continue pushing off of, versus like sometimes when I just like sit and I'm like, okay, like I put a lot of pressure on myself when I don't have like a problem to solve, to be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna address. And be like, it was nice to have the inspiration to be like, okay, well, I'm doing a bunch of fucking legs, you know, sorry. Because otherwise I will sit there and be like, what the heck am I going to put on this page? You know what I mean? And I don't know. And I think that problem solving is just like a very important part of creativity to me. So it's nice.
I think for me too, I didn't just stay with your guys' monsters as inspiration. Like I took inspiration as you as artists. So like Renee and Jimena, one thing that I admire so much from both of you is like you are so honed in on your artistic voice. Like I can say that is a Renee piece, that is a Jimena piece. So this monster creation was my personal challenge was, okay, how can I make this a Natalie piece when I literally am given, oh, that's a Renee piece and that is a Jimena piece. So it was a new challenge to be able to distinguish my artistic voice using your artistic voice and have a combination, but still at the end of the day be like, this is a Natalie. Like, so it was a new obstacle that I appreciated, trying to figure out and overcome the challenge.
That's awesome.
I like the how this whole thing kind of started out as a game between all of us, and it still was like a game throughout. Like, you know, like the pieces you're supposed to use, the rules you kind of make for yourself using the initial game. It's just fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think I think the guardrails are helpful for sure to like get you kind of thinking in a direction. But I also think it's really cool that we have sort of the flexibility and can take it wherever we want. That's one of the things I really like about doing these shows, because I feel like all of us have our own interpretations, and that's totally fine because it means what it's supposed to mean to us, and that's kind of what we're supposed to get out of it. And I think it's always going to be different. It's not going to be the same thing for everyone. Lisa, I had a question for you. So for your pieces, I guess in general, do you think about texture a lot when you're working? Because I feel like that's something that I'm always thinking about when I'm like any piece that I make, even the digital one that I did this time, I'm thinking about like the texture and can I see through it and how does it feel if I touch it? And I feel like that is totally how yours are too. And I was curious because the oil, I think, brought that through even a little more to me than I've seen in your pieces before.
Interesting. I feel like when I was painting the one in homage to yours, I was thinking about texture, but normally not really. I don't think. I usually just hope for the best, trying to make something work, and then it kind of becomes texturized.
It's always like the teeth and like the little like creases, and like those are the parts that really stand out to me. And like I'm like, I love that effect that you do. Besides the whole idea of it, like just thinking of visuals, I think, I don't know, I always get drawn in by that, maybe because I really like texture.
Thanks. I would say 90% it's happy accidents. So,
bad thing either.
Hopefully it's good because it seems to be like very flexible with a lot of accidents. So.
I want to try oils now too. Need some space for it. We have a question. I like the studio ideas. Do you think a mid-project critique would be fun or not necessary? Or like, would an optional one be helpful?
I feel like we kind of will do that with each other on our weekly or our workshops, you know, like we kind of do ask for advice and a look. Maybe. I don't know if you guys feel like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on who wants to, right?
Yeah.
I don't like the word critique, because how can you critique the creative process of someone? I like the word inspiration, or asking for help, or showing your piece and what it means for other people, right? Because that's the whole point. Other people are going to see it at the end of the day, and what are they seeing when you present it to them? If you want them to see, I don't know, a sun, and then you show it and they're like, no, that's definitely not a sun. Okay, maybe my conception of sun, it's not something that everyone is going to see, you know? But I think critique, it's a very harsh word. Just because you are very exposed when you're doing these kind of things, and the word itself, it's like it's going back to school. Like you're all nervous and you're presenting something that you think it's something that it's great, and then here comes someone and they're critiquing your work. And I get it, school is different to real life, but I guess we all do it right now because we want to do it. You're not in school. This is not your livelihood. This is your passion. And as a passion project, you do what you want to do. So whatever it is, it's just hard to ask for critique. It's great to ask for help. It's great to say, hey, I've never experimented with this kind of thing, like with oils. And Lisa, right? You've never done it. So now you did it. So I think it has to go more on that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we do like a lot of like idea sharing, like building off of each other's ideas, which like I guess in a way could be like a form of like a critique. But like the criticism aspect is really not there because like you said, Jimena, like it's a passion project for all of us. So I think that we're all really focused on like the enjoyment of it and the process and just like adding ideas if we can. Like I loved critiques in college. That was like one of my favorite things because I love like giving ideas to people and like helping build off of them. So I love our meetings because I love to like the gum thing, you know what I mean? Like just being like, oh my God, name it Bubba, name it something to do with gum, you know, like that is, I feel like I can see the story of other people's work sometimes. So I like to like give my interpretation of it, but like, I feel like we all do that through the lens of like, I know it's not mine, but this is what I'm seeing, you know what I mean? And like, if you want to build off that, run with it, like go for it. But it's like very much so just kind of like we're sharing, you know.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
positive.
it's sharing.
I don't think of it as a negative.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
Like, that word can be taken kind of like harshly, like you don't want to be criticized. I get, yeah, totally. I feel like we lift each other up and we, you know, gather advice when we want it, and it's shared, and, you know, we support each other, and
Yes.
it works.
Yeah, I agree. Usually my main regret after finish of a show is that I wasn't able to contribute in my, like have more discussions around what I was trying to do with y'all, because I like hearing what you think and the discussions we have. Usually I'm not there yet until like the last week. So that's always my regret. After the day after the show happened is what I think, like, oh man, could have had these kind of discussions or whatever, but I wasn't there yet. So
Well, it's super interesting because I feel like some people really like process what they want and like really where it's coming from. And I don't know. I guess that's a good question to ask because like Tom and Pascal, both of you guys had like come up with your projects and already like had so much done in the beginning. And Tom, I know you like just continued taking it further, which was awesome, which is why you had so much impressive work to show. But I agree with Lisa. I'm one of those people who takes the time with it, and it takes me a while to figure out like because it's personal and it's not like a work thing. I always feel like there's an emotional aspect to it, and I'm trying to like figure out what it means to me and why this is important to me and why I would spend my time on it. And so it has to kind of like mature to that point for me. So I am kind of curious how do you think of it? And is this kind of your typical process where you come up with something right away? And not just to single you out, anyone else do, because I know there are some of us that are a little bit faster than others for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I try to get to like a solid starting point right away, just in case life gets in the way and I can't go further. So it's kind of like a safety net. And each time I got to those like kind of thresholds, I was like, okay, if this has to be it, I'm okay with that. But I'm always chasing the next thing too. Like I shared with you guys before, like I started dabbling in like, oh, what if I made packaging for this guy? And what if I made miniatures of him? So I keep going to the next step, but I try and have those kind of like milestones just in case, which I think I picked that up from a professional capacity. Just like, okay, if something's got to ship, it can be this.
Yes, totally. No, I see that at work all the time where I'm like, I have to do that. And I notice for myself, at least, that I am like, I don't want to make myself do that in my own work, just because I'm like, I don't even want to put it out if it's not something that I'm like 100% happy with. And not that I'm always 100% happy with it, but at least like I feel like it's taken me in a direction of growth. Whereas for like work, I'm like, well, like I take it as far as I possibly can, but it's not gonna always be like what I would have wanted it to be, just based on timing and stuff.
One important aspect that I think we all have is that what we all do, makes us happy, in a way or in some sort of way. What you're doing, again, it has to do with passion. It has to do with what you love doing. It has to do with your interests. It has to do with us as a group, right? Because it also, you feed off of people. And when you're talking with people, you have new ideas, or you can get inspired, or you can learn, or you can talk about things that you didn't even knew existed, or you can go into themes that you didn't even knew that you were gonna like. It's so broad to have a community and to have someone like you guys, but the main thing is we do it because we love it and because we have that passion in us that keep us going.
Yes, because no one else would stay up, like do all-nighters outside of work just to get like a little painting or a figure or something done. And it does seem a little crazy to other people, I think, sometimes, but this is what we do because we love it. Anyone else have any questions or add-ons to that?
I have a question for yours, Renee. Did you have your descriptions of each character written out before you kind of created it? I was looking at Bro's comment and just reminded me, yeah, you had some awesome descriptions of your characters. Did one inspire the other first, or is it same time, kind of?
I think it was kind of at the same time. I think of texture a lot when I'm doing things, and I feel like that inspires whatever I'm doing, and then also kind of that inspires me towards other things. So I don't know. I think it kind of came at the same time. I was really disappointed because I wanted to go further and like kind of pushing that aspect of it and in my video and show it a little bit more interesting way. But I thought it was helpful to at least kind of include the context of how I thought of the characters. Because everything for me, it started with, if I'm making this character, either how does it feel if I touch it, or how does it look when you're like really close to it, or it starts with something specific that I really want to portray in a character, like that sort of characteristic or element.
I always want to touch Renee's little pieces each time she makes them. Honestly, I want to touch everyone's little monsters all the time. Even when they're not monsters, I just want to touch everyone's art.
We're just going to meet somewhere and bring all of our monsters with us.
I always say I want to eat
picture like
your
a
monsters.
shady briefcase transaction here.
Eat them.
Yeah, I
Agree.
want to eat all the cheese. Cheese.
Agreed. What flavor are they?
I think they all taste like cotton candy. Every single one.
Is that working? Is that doing it for you?
I'm trying to think. I had a couple other questions for you guys if nobody else has any. Oh my gosh. Amanda, the detail on that thing. It's
Amanda, I
crazy.
want him as a lamp. Like I just want those.
Like
eyes
that
to
is
light up my room.
amazing.
Yes.
Oh, by the way,
everyone's got
it's
that
glow in the dark.
Yes,
The
I was gonna
eyes
ask,
are glow in the dark. The horns are glow in the dark, and he has
Perfect.
also a shade of, well, a coat of glow in the dark painting too. I just couldn't take the pictures to show it correctly, but yeah, those eyes, yeah, they could be a lamp for you.
Oh, way to bury the
That's so
lead.
cute.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm asking one of my questions. Peyton, for your characters, do you ever think of them animated? Because I feel like I see them animated when I see your characters, and I'm like, I really want to I want to grab her little guy and do something fun with him. So I'm just curious if you think about them that way.
I definitely do think of them in motion, but I don't know how to always execute that. I know I was talking with someone when I was finishing my piece. I was talking about how I could, it would be cool if I animated it, but I really just didn't, because I procrastinated, I wouldn't have had time to learn how to execute it properly and then be happy with it. But I think it'd be cool to learn and then to kind of add that on later. But whenever, even the last show I did with my emotionals, I kind of saw them, some of them, I don't know, none of them had legs last time, but some of them spinning in my brain, just based on the personalities of them. So then with Bubba, I would think the same thing, that he'd be squishing around and sticking to things. But I envision it, but I didn't create it, obviously.
But all these lovely people know how to do these things. So that's why we have each other.
That's true.
I know.
Actually, that brings up a question that I have for the group. How do you know when to stop? Like, how do you just say, like, done? Is it just a deadline like it is for me, or do you guys like
You
ever
beg
come up with,
Renee
like,
for
a
another
clear
day.
goal post?
Beg Renee for another day.
And the exhaustion hits, and you're like, I think it's okay. No.
You get a feeling, and then you see it again like 2 years later, and you're like, oh, shoot, I stopped there?
I think I always know when I leave it for a day and then revisit it. Because it's like once you're staring at something for so long, like your brain just kind of goes to mush. And then you think you're done. Or sometimes you don't think you're done. You're like, okay, I'm going to leave this and I'm going to revisit tomorrow. And then you do that and then you're like, yeah, that's good. Or you could be like, yeah, that's not good. And then you could add more to it. But I feel like you just need to give it time and rest your eyes and then go back to it. That's what I do, at least.
I totally agree that sleeping on it is like a super technique to use on a lot of things. Doesn't always solve the problem, but I do think it's really helpful in making decisions. And I don't make any big decisions without sleeping on them.
I think for me, it has to do more like what you said about the deadline. Sometimes, because you can only have so much time to do what you want to do. And sometimes what happens in my head is that I want something, but it ends up being something else. And you could keep going and going and going and transforming your original idea into something else. So for me, I think it's the deadline. It's like, okay, you have to have it ready by a set date. So even if it changes in your head or something happens, it's like, that's it. That's all you can do. You know, you don't have any more time. So that's it. But like you said too, you try to work on something in a way that you're happy with it if you have to release it at that moment. I feel like that too, because you can always improve everything that we do. We can always improve in one way or another. Call it giving it more time or giving it an extra coat of paint or something. Everything can be improved. The point is, like, do you want to do it? Do you have the time to do it? You know? So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I agree with you, Haman. And I think too, like, and with stepping away, like we all kind of said, you're either going to overwork the thing to death or getting away from it for a day and sleeping on it, because you'll be like, you know, I think we all can say, oh, I feel like it's still missing something, you know, it's not fully done or whatever. And taking that step back is what really helps you from like going too crazy in the wrong direction too quickly.
I feel like for me, for like the Chii for All shows at least, my like last step is like the video. Like my like me finishing my piece and like doing my video are like very intertwined, because like for the last show, for example, I did a photography assignment and then I was like talking. Actually, Lisa brought it up. She was like, well, how are you going to represent that in your video? Like, is it going to be just like still images? And I was like, no freaking way. It's not going to be just still images. I was like, I can't just put a picture. I can't just put my photo on the screen and be like, here it is. Like, I need it to move, because I think I'm a lot, like, I think creatively emotion a lot. So like how my final piece is going to look and how I want it to look in the video are like very related, I think, for me, at least like for these shows specifically. Obviously it's like very tailored to Chii for All, but they're very intertwined.
To add on from your last show, I was wondering that. I think I asked that. I can't quite remember, but I think I asked that because I remember you describing how you were going to set it up, and it sounded very like that's going to be a really cool process video. How you're going to make, how you want your still photo, how you're going to set it up is like, you know, that seems like something to watch.
Do you guys feel like thinking in terms of the video as opposed to the as opposed to just having your final piece? Has that kind of changed how you think about, I guess, your pieces in general and just how you approach it? Would it be different for you, do you think, if you were doing it for like an in-person show?
Yeah.
And now that you have done the not in person, do you think there are things that you would still take away from that?
Yes. I definitely like I said, I think creatively in motion a lot. Like when I'm like making something stagnant, I'm like, how is this gonna move if I want it to move later? So like I think the videos, like I always feel like it needs to be moving. This is like one of the first shows that I think I've done something that isn't moving at least a little bit. And it felt like kind of unnatural to me. So I think that definitely if we had just started off with Chii for All being like in-person shows, like in-person galleries, I would have done like far more still photography. And that would have been like kind of what I was like my end product was aiming for. And maybe there would be an interaction element to it, but it definitely wouldn't be as much like motion driven for me personally.
I think for me, like the difference between just like a gallery show is like that is like a static piece. You're like walking up to it, you're seeing it, you can walk around it, that's fine. But my pieces and what I like love is like the element of play, how you interact with it, how you're gonna touch it, how it feels, like, and all of that I feel like I'm able to accomplish in a video, like explaining this process, showing the materials that I'm using. I don't have to stand by my piece and be like, hi, this is my wire monster. Do you want me to hold it and show you how it moves? Like I can show it all in my video and show you how it's going to be interactive and how it's playful, or like past shows with like musical instruments, how you can play them, how you can interact with the critter mingles and they're all punny, and like the videos and being virtual just adds this whole new element that I had never thought to like experiment with. And so it just pushes you in a new direction where gallery shows, for me anyways, right now, I haven't viewed them that way before. So it'll be interesting to see if we ever move to a gallery space. Like I might have to rethink that process again of like, okay, how can I bring an interactive element and have it be like, quote unquote, allowed to touch it in a gallery setting and not having people be like scared that they're going to break it. Like just thinking outside the box that way.
It's little white gloves. If you've ever seen those in gallery. I have a pair. I think
Clown gloves.
Yeah. I think the difference for me is like being able to show the process and explain a meaning behind a piece. I feel like you don't always get that opportunity in a gallery setting. It's kind of just like up on display. And that is the purpose of art, for someone to look at it and try to interpret it in the way that they want to. But I also still like putting out like my meaning and my thought process behind it. I also really enjoy watching everyone's process, and you don't get to see that in a gallery setting. It's just really interesting to see how everyone works. And yeah, that would be the difference, that kind of switch over from virtual to in-person.
Yeah, honestly, going off of that, I would argue that like that is like the beauty of the fact we've ended up with virtual Chii for Alls, because now that you bring that up, Peyton, I don't like, we wouldn't have had this experience, and obviously we as artists together, like we would have had these meetings and would have been able to talk about our process, but like we wouldn't have been able to share that in as meaningful of a way, which has been awesome. So that's such a good point.
Tom, did you have something too?
Oh yeah, I was just kind of adding on, like just seeing everybody's process is like my favorite part of it, because like my piece was all process. You know, it was just the journey through it that really made it special, I think. And I don't know how I would soundtrack a gallery piece. I mean, I guess I would just look like a busker.
You could have a little iPod and headphones attached to it and be like, while you're looking at me, please listen to this song I made.
Well, maybe if I put just like a tip jar out front and just like strum the old acoustic, it'd probably be the most I've ever made off my art.
Oh my God.
So
Funny.
that brings me to ask you, Renee, the question, because Chii for All was originally supposed to be in-person shows, right? Before all this with COVID happened, right?
Mhm.
So how is your expectations for, firstly, how did you end up doing the video? And was that an easy process to be like, okay, forget it, I'm going to do video because everybody's quarantined? And is it what you expected it to be at this point?
I don't think I ever had any expectations that this was going to last this long, or that we would be here right now still doing virtual stuff at this point. But I love that we are. And actually, I think it has changed my perspective on it a lot. And I think that a lot of people have become accustomed to having the visual interpretation of something. It's not just a static thing that you're looking at. And that's not how you view things online and how you kind of, you know, you have to see a lot more than just something in front of you on a screen. So and I've mentioned it to a few of you. I don't know if you remember or not, but I'm not going to talk about the theme, but I have thought about some ways that we could bring the motion or the video aspect into more of a physical space, which I think could be super interesting. And I feel like I don't know how to do things without the interactivity anymore. Like, I feel like that's really necessary, and it gives so much meaning to it for me. So like hearing you guys say that is just awesome for me to hear, because I resonate with that so much. Anyone else have any thoughts on that or questions? Nobody's asked any questions for a little bit. My mom's been chatting with you, Lisa.
She was asking to turn your lights off, Amanda, so we can see the eyes.
It's a little bit difficult because you have to charge him first. You have to put him under a lamp for a little bit.
He has to eat.
The more time the more time he spends under a lamp, the more he's gonna get charged. So whenever that happens, he really lights up. But right now I haven't put him under a lamp. So if I turn my lights off, I'm pretty sure nothing would glow. Or all other things that I have around here would glow, but not him.
I feel like you're talking about all of us. I mean, all of us, if we spend enough time under a lamp.
If we all turn off our lights, who would glow?
Scary, Lisa. That's funny. Okay. We're not getting any other questions, but of course I always have to have a couple of follow-up ones. And if anyone else has one, feel free to throw them in there too. I do want to know, I guess, after this show, has anything changed about how you see your projects? And do you have any thoughts on something that this has inspired you to do next?
I'll say seeing everyone else kind of branch out into different like mediums of working. I try to branch out stylistically, but I kind of want to try something completely different. But we'll see if I will do that.
Do it,
But that's it.
That is exciting.
Yeah, but we'll see. And I feel like it all depends on, what the next one is and, but that's like giving me like a spark,
Awesome.
Just seeing everybody's work, it makes me want to like really lean into the whole video aspect of it and just learn more cool tricks with the editing and stuff, because some of the stuff that we saw today was just gorgeous, just like from not just an artwork standpoint, but just from like an editing and like framing standpoint. It was really cool and made me rethink how to do it.
Yes, I always get inspired by you guys with that.
Even the camera angles that I see, you get inspired because you're like, oh my god, I couldn't even think about doing a shot like that, you know, or the close-ups or stuff like that. For
Yeah,
me,
Lisa, way to make us look bad.
Whatever you guys' videos are, everybody's was so good.
For me, it's a little bit difficult sometimes because I like to set up the camera and everything, but that takes time, and sometimes I just want to go and do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm doing the stuff and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not recording. And the other thing that I have is that I record everything. So by the end of the day, I have hours and hours and hours and hours of video that you can't really do anything with it, because when I'm sitting here and I'm painting, I usually don't move a lot. So I have the thing on my hand, and it's like, oh yeah, 3 hours or Jimena just doing this. And since I do also the speed recording, it's like 10 minutes at the end of the day that I'm just like sitting with a brush or whatever tool I'm using, and it's like, you didn't even move. And I was like, yeah, those were 4 hours of my life. It might seem like it was 5 seconds, but those were 4 hours, you know? So keeping in mind that you have to record,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard for me because, again, I don't know if I'm gonna be something cool at one moment, so I want to record everything, but then I look at the video and it's like, oh my god, it's like the same thing for 4 hours. So I've learned, and I've had help too, with Christian, because sometimes I just want to have one set of one camera and that's it. So he comes and he moves the camera, or he's recording with a different camera or whatever. So sometimes you just need some help, you know?
I
Yeah.
feel like the first time I recorded so much, and I was just like, oh my God, like no one wants to see me doing this same thing forever and ever and ever. So like as we've done more shows, yeah, I've definitely like pared that down a lot. Like, yep, there's a little bit of this part, a little bit of that part, and then like whatever you throw in between, because I had way too much. And it is hard to set up like every single time you're gonna like go to work on the piece again, right? It is. It's like
It is, yeah.
another thing, you know.
Lisa, I feel like you've perfected this. I feel like you do an amazing job at recording your process. I don't even, like, when I record it, I'm just like, I'm not even gonna use it. I'm just like that, Meg, because I like, even this one I screen recorded, like just doing the digital illustrations and stuff, and I'm like I was more interested by the idea of how the thing would like move and the layering of it than the actual just drawing of it, because I'm like, well, that's the easy part.
The intro of the video, the whole video was awesome. Like stuff like that.
That was
yeah.
so great.
Yeah. Of the whole show.
Oh, about the
yeah, like putting that into the whole story of what we're doing.
I felt like that was very important, and I wanted to surprise you guys with something from there anyway. It's not a ton of stuff, you notice. We had a big long video from that whole that mashup day, but I only just took a few little pieces.
The video is the funnest part for me. It's like, I think my process has been just filming everything, filming the B-roll, just like opening all the stuff, no matter how insignificant it is. Make sure it looks pretty, like put a light on it, like dramatically pretty more than what it is, and then fit it in when you need to say your script in the end. And it'll fit because it is part of your process. But if you need that beat of something else, I think that always seems to work for me. It might not make sense linearly, but it feels okay. So.
And actually, Sarah's not here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just gonna say I found that a lot with mine. Like I was really like being self-conscious when I was like filming the painting of my guy, and I'm like, oh, make sure I hold the brush just right and don't look like an idiot. And then I sped it up 2,000%. So it was like literally a frame. Lesson learned.
Yeah, it is very interesting thinking back to like the first time that we did one of these. I do feel like my thought on how I'm treating my process is a little bit different. Or I guess I don't put as much weight on it, but I do feel like I find these interesting when I'm doing things hands-on. I don't know how to do it digitally. I really don't. I felt way more interested in the final product for that, but when it's hands-on, I always feel like there's just these little moments that I find really interesting, like pouring the resin, or like something where I'm usually for me layering, but yeah, it's just little things, and those are the only ones that I really try and focus in on. But in the beginning, I took everything. It was just way too much. I was gonna say Sarah is not here today, and neither is Pascal, but Sarah's video also was so interesting for her because I haven't seen her do that kind of project before. And she, like, I wanted to go to sleep watching the brushwork and just the paint going on. I was like, wow, that looks great. It's just white paint, but it looks great. So I feel like it's so interesting how our minds just perceive those kind of tactile looking things, even if we can't touch it physically.
I'm always hypnotized. Like I love watching people work on things, even like if it's the retouchers at work. I'm like, it's soothing, like, to watch that. And that's why I think I love our videos too.
Yes, even though, and I will say I don't know if any of us did. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like none of us would say that we're really experts or used to doing video all the time, or like, I felt comfortable with it in the beginning. None of us did. I mean, I hadn't done it since college, which was forever ago. So it was really a stretch to even consider that in the beginning, but I am glad that we did. I feel like it was worthwhile. I do feel like it is less painful now every couple months when I approach After Effects again. It makes it worth it to have that piece. All right, cool. We are getting up on time, and I don't know if anyone else has any questions, but I've enjoyed the conversation either way, as always. And I'm super excited for what's next with you guys. I know we've had some conversations about it. I'm not gonna give any spoilers to anyone here, but I think we have a pretty amazing thought starter for our next one already. So something to look forward to. But yeah, I think we can call it a night, and thank you guys so much for all of the work that you put into this. It is always awesome seeing everyone grow through this, and that's like really what's, besides, I know I'm growing as an artist too, but it's just really fulfilling to me to see you guys like getting something out of it. And I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for organizing it,
Renee.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Of course. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thank you, everyone, for anyone who's still watching. We appreciate you too. Thank you for asking all the questions and just being here to kind of check us out. So we have links to all of our artists, of course, in the description of this. And if you missed our video, the actual main show, there's a link to that in the, well, I think there is. If there's not, I will put a link to it in this live Q&A box as well. So thank you, everyone. Have an amazing night, and thank you again for watching.
Great job.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.